so I want you to picture this just a second. It's a Tuesday. You're at your desk. Maybe you can't find your keys or you're just looking at your inbox. And suddenly your body just, it reacts like you're in serious danger. Your pulse starts hammering. You get that weird tunnel vision. Your hands get sweaty. It's this full-blown biological signal just screaming, run!
But you're just sitting in an office chair. There's nowhere to run.
Exactly. And that feeling, that disconnect between the physical panic and, the safety of the room, it's terrifying. It can feel like you're losing control. But today, what we're digging into is this idea that you're not losing your mind. You're experiencing a glitch, an evolutionary glitch. And more importantly, we're going to talk about how to manually override it.
Right. We are looking at a very specific tool today. It's often called the 5-4-3-2-1 grounding technique. And look, before you roll your eyes and think this is just another take deep breath kind of thing, I want to stop you. Because the sources we're looking at today suggest this isn't really about relaxation. It's about biology. It's a hack.
I'll be honest. My skepticism radar went way up when I first saw this. Count 5 things, feel 4 things. It felt a little, simplistic. Like, is counting the lamps in my office really going to stop a panic attack that feels like I'm having a heart attack?
And that's a completely valid skepticism. Actually, one of the main sources we're pulling from, a really raw personal account from an ADHD coach, they addressed that head on. They admitted that 10 years ago they would have called this, and I'm quoting here, new age hippie shit, until they actually needed it.
That was the account that really grabbed me. But we're also balancing it with, some harder science. We've got a great how-to guide from the Calm blog, but we've also got an article from the HeHov source. It's by a nutritional therapist, Pippa Thackeray, and she gets right into the physiological side of things.
And that mix is so important, right? You need the science to understand why you're doing it, and you need the personal stories to understand what it actually feels like in the middle of that messy reality of a panic spiral.
Okay, so let's start with the problem. Why does my body think an email from my boss is a tiger? Because that seems to be the core of it all.
It is. It's what we call an evolutionary mismatch. I mean, for 99% of human history, a spike in adrenaline and cortisol meant one thing.
Immediate physical danger.
Right. A predator, a flood, a rival tribe. Your body dumped all this energy into your system so you could either fight or flee.
The classic fight or flight.
But our threats today, they're abstract. Social anxiety, money stress, losing your wallet, your brain's alarm system, the amygdala, it still fires. But the logical part of your brain, the prefrontal cortex, it knows you're physically safe. The problem is once those chemicals start dumping, logic kind of goes offline.
So you're just sitting there literally vibrating with energy, but there's no bear to punch.
Exactly. And because you don't burn off that energy, it spirals inward. It becomes those looping thoughts, that catastrophic thinking. You get trapped in your own head.
So the premise of the 5-4-3-2-1 method, is it just to distract us? Because I feel like I can multitask. I can worry and look at a wall at the same time.
It's more aggressive than just distraction. It's about 2 things: cognitive load and vagal stimulation.
Okay, let's break those down. Vagal stimulation, we're talking about the vagus nerve.
Yes. The vagus nerve is like the super highway for your parasympathetic nervous system. That's your rest and digest system. When you're in a panic, your sympathetic system, the gas pedal is floored. You need to hit the brake. And engaging your senses in this really specific, deliberate way, it sends a signal up that nerve to the brain that says, hey, we are analyzing the environment and it is safe.
And what about cognitive load? That sounds like work.
It is work. And that's the whole point. If I just tell you to try to relax, your brain has plenty of leftover bandwidth to keep panicking. But if I force you to identify the specific texture of your jeans, and then the faint smell of coffee in the air, and then a specific background noise, I'm flooding your brain's processing power. You literally cannot maintain that high-def panic loop and process all that complex sensory data at the same time.
So we're basically clogging the bandwidth so the panic signal can't get through.
That's a perfect way to put it. You're jamming the signal with reality.
Okay, you have my attention. Let's walk through it. And I want to get into the nuance here, because looking at the sources, there's a bit of a debate on the order of the steps.
For sure. The general order is 5-4-3-2-1. Sight, touch, sound, smell, taste. But yeah, the intensity matters more than the exact sequence.
So step 1, or I guess step 5, since we're counting down 5 things you can see.
Right. And you have to imagine you're in that panic state. Your vision is probably a bit blurry, a bit tunnel visioned. The goal here is not just to glance around and say, chair, table, wall, that's too easy. Your panic brain can do that on autopilot.
So what's the hack?
You have to engage the analytical part of your brain. Describe them. Pippa Thackeray's article really emphasizes the detail. Don't just see a plant, see the brown spot on the edge of one leaf, see the way the light reflects off another.
I see. So it's not I see a picture frame, it's I see the tiny scratch on the corner of the black picture frame, I see the dust on the glass.
Precisely. You are forcing your eyes to focus, which physically changes your physiological state. You're moving from that wide predator scan gaze to a focused hard gaze.
And you have to find 5 things.
5 distinct things. And actually move your head. Physically turn your neck. It helps break that physical freeze response.
Okay, so I found my 5 things. I've analyzed the dust on my monitor. Next is 4 things you can feel. Now, this is where the sources started to differ a little, right?
They did, yeah. The Calm blog listed sound as number 4 and touch as number 3. But the ADHD source and one of the infographics, they swapped them. They had touch at 4, sound at 3.
Does it matter? If I'm freaking out, am I going to fail if I do sound before touch?
No, not at all. The biology doesn't care about the sequence, it just cares about the grounding. I personally like doing touch first because it's so immediate. You are physically in your body.
The examples were interesting. It wasn't just touch the desk.
No, it's about texture, temperature. The Calm guide suggests feeling the fabric of your clothes against your skin.
Which is always there, but you completely tune it out.
Completely. I mean, for anyone listening right now, can you actually feel the socks on your feet? The seam.
Whoa, okay, yeah. I wasn't thinking about my socks at all, and now I can feel the seam on my little toe.
And just like that, you're in your body. You're not in some catastrophic future. You are, for a second, in your sock.
You're in your sock. That's going on a motivational poster.
It sounds ridiculous, but that's the point. The ADHD source mentioned holding something cold, like a can of soda or feeling the ridges on a pen. It's tactile feedback that confirms reality.
Okay, on to 3 things you can hear. Now, this is where I think the, wellness blog version clashes with reality. Calm suggests listening for birds singing or the wind in the trees, which is lovely. But if I'm having a panic attack on the subway...
There are no birds on the subway.
No.
And this is why I love that ADHD coach's account. They didn't sugarcoat it. They said, listen for a car alarm, listen for a siren, listen for the annoying sound of the person next to you chewing their food.
Listening to someone chew sounds like it would make me more anxious.
It might make you angry. But anger is a different channel than panic, and the goal is just objectivity. You're not judging the sound as good or bad, you're just identifying it as present. I hear a siren, I hear the hum of the lights, I hear distant traffic.
It's like you're becoming a scientist, just recording data.
Yes. You're shifting from being a participant in the drama to being an observer of the data. That shift is everything.
Okay, so sight, touch, sound. Now we're getting to the trickier ones.
Yeah.
2 things you can smell.
This one's tough. We often go nose blind to our immediate environment.
Right, and if you're hyperventilating, it's hard to really sniff for things.
True. But your olfactory system, your sense of smell, it's the only sense that has a direct line to the emotional and memory centers of the brain. It bypasses the thalamus. It's a direct connection.
So if you can find a smell, it's extra powerful.
Incredibly powerful. The sources suggest things like soap or coffee, but if you're stuck at your desk, the text source suggested smelling your own deodorant.
Or the leather on your watch strap.
Or just the smell of rain outside. Even if you can't identify a strong scent, the act of taking a deep, intentional inhale through your nose to try and find one, that action itself starts to regulate your breathing. So you win either way.
That's a great point. Even if the air just smells like air, the sniff itself is a tool. Okay, last one. 1 thing you can taste.
This is the one that always trips people up. They think, I'm not eating anything. How can I taste something?
Yeah, do I need to carry around an emergency Tic Tac for this to work?
You could, but you don't have to. It's about noticing what's already there. The Health article mentions the lingering taste of toothpaste or your last cup of coffee. Or sometimes there's just a metallic taste that comes with adrenaline.
So again, it's just about turning your focus inward to a real physical sensation.
It completes the cycle. You've gone from the big outside world with your eyes all the way to the most internal, intimate sense, which is taste. You've completed the whole sensory journey.
And by the time you do all that, the tiger is gone.
Well, the tiger was never really there. But by the time you finish, your prefrontal cortex has had a few minutes to come back online. The adrenaline surge has likely peaked and started to fade. Yeah. You might not feel, zen, but you probably feel here.
And here is a much better place to be than full-blown panic mode.
A much better place.
I want to circle back to something we touched on, that resistance. Because if you pride yourself on being logical, on being a high performer, sitting there counting colors, it can feel, I don't know, almost insulting to your intelligence.
It does. It absolutely does. We want complex solutions for our complex problems. If I tell you that you're anxious because of some deep-seated trauma that needs years of analysis, that feels substantial. And I tell you to look at a chair, it feels trivial.
It feels like putting a Band-Aid on a gaping wound.
But here's the thing about panic. It's not a complex intellectual problem. It's a primitive biological mechanism. It's a blunt instrument. And so you need a blunt instrument to stop it. You can't think your way out of a chemical dump. You have to physiology your way out.
That's a really helpful way to frame it. It's not an intellectual failure. It's a biological event.
Exactly.
So who is this for, besides, me having a meltdown at my desk? The sources mentioned a few specific groups.
ADHD was a big one.
Explain that connection.
Yeah.
Why does this work so well for ADHD?
Well, with ADHD, there can be issues with emotional regulation. You can get hyper-focused on a negative feeling or a perceived rejection, what's sometimes called rejection-sensitive dysphoria. You just get locked into that feeling. This 5-4-3-2-1 method acts as a pattern interrupt. It physically forces the brain to switch tracks.
It breaks the hyperfocus.
It breaks the hyperfocus, and it's also incredibly useful for social anxiety.
Oh, I can totally see that. You're at an event, it's too loud, you feel the walls closing in.
And the best part is that this whole thing is invisible. You don't have to close your eyes or start meditating. You can just be standing there holding a drink and be mentally scanning the room for 5 blue things, feeling the cold glass on your hand, listening for one specific person's laugh. Nobody has to know you're doing it.
That stealth factor is huge.
Yeah.
The last thing you want when you're anxious is to draw more attention to yourself.
Precisely.
Now, we do need to add a disclaimer here. The Calm source was very clear about this, particularly regarding PTSD.
Yes, and this is critical. Grounding is a huge part of trauma therapy because trauma often involves flashbacks where you literally feel like you're in the past. But this technique is a tool, not a cure. If you are dealing with significant PTSD, this can help you manage a flashback in the moment, but it is not a replacement for professional clinical care.
Right, it's a fire extinguisher. It's not the contractor who rebuilds the house after the fire.
That's a perfect analogy.
What about the light version? Because sometimes even the full countdown feels like too much. The FAQs mentioned a 3-3-3 rule.
Yeah, this is like the emergency brake version. Name 3 things you see, name 3 things you can touch, and then move 3 parts of your body, like wiggle your fingers, roll your ankles. Some variations say take 3 deep breaths.
See 3, touch 3, move 3.
It's fast, it's easy to remember, and it works on the exact same principle. Get out of your head, get into your body.
I like that as a backup. But here's a question. Do I only do this when the sirens are blaring? Or is there value in practicing this when I'm, totally fine?
This is where that nutritional therapist perspective was so interesting. They talked about vagal tone.
Vagal tone, like muscle tone.
Exactly like muscle tone. If you never go to the gym and then you suddenly try to lift something really heavy, you might pull something. If you never practice grounding and then try to do it during a Category 5 panic attack, it's going to be a lot harder to access.
So you're saying I should practice counting my lampshades even when I'm happy?
I'm saying you should practice noticing things when you're calm. Practice shifting your focus on purpose. The more you stimulate that vagus nerve, the stronger your braking system becomes. So when you really need to slam on the brakes, they're responsive.
That makes so much sense. It's neuroplasticity.
Yeah.
You're building that pathway so it's a paved road, not a dirt track, when the emergency hits.
And honestly, it's just a better way to live, isn't it? Being present, actually tasting your food, actually feeling the sun on your skin. That's not just anxiety management. That's just mindfulness.
It's reclaiming your own attention.
It is.
And I think that brings us to the big so what, this whole deep dive. We're living in an environment that is literally designed to hack our attention. Apps, notifications, the news cycle, they are all engineered to trigger that little fight or flight response, to keep us engaged, to keep us scrolling.
Our biology is constantly being exploited by our environment.
Right. So this 5-4-3-2-1 method, it's not just some cute little trick, it's a counter hack.
It's about regaining your own agency. It's about saying, no, I choose what I focus on right now. I choose to be in this room, not in some terrifying what-if scenario.
It empowers you to be the operator of your own nervous system instead of just being a passenger on a runaway train.
And you have that power with you at all times. You don't need Wi-Fi, you don't need a subscription, you just need your 5 senses.
So here's our challenge to you, the listener. Don't wait for the meltdown. Try it today, maybe even right now, wherever you're listening to this. Find 5 things. But really look at them. See the scratches, the dust, the textures. See if you can shift gears on purpose.
And just notice what happens to your body, to your breath, when you do. You might be surprised.
We'd love to hear if this works for you. But for now, thanks for diving deep with us. Stay grounded.
See you next time.